This is a good morning. Good morning, Birmingham Unitarian Church.
Good morning.
Whether you are joining us here in the sanctuary, remotely via Zoom, or watching this recording later, it is good to connect with you. By greeting our virtual neighbors, we build a bridge between online and in person. First, as you know, we will project on the screen all our friends at home and ask them to turn on their cameras and give us a wave. Now, we will turn to the back and look at the black camera on the wall there and give our friends at home a wave. If you are visiting us for the first time, welcome. If you are with us in the sanctuary, we invite you to join us after the service for a time of community in Hodis Hall, which is located to the left as you leave the sanctuary. If you are with us on Zoom, we invite you to stay on the call for a virtual coffee hour immediately after the service ends. Whenever and however we connect with BUC, we are building this beloved community. The campus of Birmingham Unitarian Church occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe Council of Three Fires, Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples. Bloomfield Hills is situated on land ceded in the 1807 Treaty of Detroit. We acknowledge Michigan's 12 federally recognized Native nations, as well as historic indigenous communities in Michigan. We also acknowledge those who were forcibly removed from their homelands, as well as indigenous individuals and communities who live here now. We affirm indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences.
In memory of all the flames that didn't die, in the midst of darkness, in spite of the darkness, we light this flame today. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn 42, Morning So Fair to See. Perhaps some here have outgrown mystery Maybe you have questions or doubts about Santa, or have forgotten the magic of a newborn child. One might easily lose touch with awe in the struggle to do it all or simply to survive. Hear now this invitation to open yourself to surprise today and be ready to greet unexpected delights. What star shall shine on you? What child remind you that all can be touched by glory? What gifts can you give? How will you join the holy story?
Our story for today is titled, I Wonder, by Annika Harris, and illustrated by John Rowe. Eva loves to look for the moon. It follows her from place to place, disappearing behind trees and mountains, and then appearing again someplace new. Look, Mama, there it is. The moon looks so beautiful in the sky. How do you think it follows us, Eva? Eva thought about it, but she just can't figure it out. It's okay to say, I don't know, says her mother. When we don't know something, we get to wonder about it. I wonder if the moon and the earth are friends, says Eva. Her mother smiles. I like that idea. But Mama, how does the moon really stay close to us? Well, there's this invisible force called gravity that pulls all the things in the universe together, Eva's mother explains. Gravity keeps the moon close to the earth. And it keeps the planets close to the sun, too. They circle around like this. Eva understands a little better. But then she starts to wonder, Mama, where does gravity come from? I don't know, Eva. No one really knows for sure. And when no one knows the answer to something, it's called a mystery. A mystery is something for everyone to wonder about together. How fun! Eva imagines herself wondering about gravity together with all the people in the world. Eva watches the moon disappear behind the clouds as she walks, excited to see where it will appear next. How many grains of sand are in the world, Mama? I wonder about that too. There are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, but nobody knows exactly how many. Eva tries to think about all the sand in the whole world. It feels so big that I can't fit it all in my imagination. It makes me feel dizzy and like I'm falling. I know what you mean, her mother agrees. And I'm sure other people feel that way too. Eva walks down another path, looking for the moon, and a little orange butterfly appears. Then she notices there are butterflies everywhere. Mama, where did all these butterflies come from? These butterflies have been flying around for a few days. But they started out as little caterpillars. And those caterpillars came from eggs. And those eggs came from other butterflies. There are cycles all around us, and one thing ending and another beginning. Things are always changing. Can you think of other things that change? Clouds, and frogs, and me. Later, Eva wonders, Mama, What was here before all the butterflies and frogs and clouds, before everything? I don't know, answers her mother. It's another mystery. I like trying to imagine what was here before the beginning of everything. What do you think was here? And Eva says, smiling, I don't know. She thinks about it for a long time, and then she has an idea. I wonder if there were feelings. As she walks home, Eva sees the moon again, glowing brightly above the roof of her house. Let's go inside and look for the moon through the window. We live with some pretty big mysteries. When we come upon one, we're given a little gift. Every mystery is something for all of us to wonder together. So, what do you wonder about? So today, in our remix group, we are going to be wondering and learning a little bit more about presents. Not the ones that end in TS, but the word that ends in CES. So at this time, we're going to have all our children and youth join us at the back of the sanctuary as we head off to class.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in the community. Our offering recipient for December is the Welcome Inn. For many years, BUCers have volunteered at the Welcome Inn, which is located at Star Presbyterian Church on the corner of 13 Mile Road and Crooks, operated by South Oakland Citizens for the Homeless. It is the only daytime warming center in South Oakland County. On any given day between December and March, up to 45 guests use the facility between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Everyone gets a hot dinner, clothing from the clothing closet, social services, haircuts, medical treatment, and most important of all, friendly companionship. BUC volunteers help in a number of ways, including short or one-time opportunities. They work in the clothes closet, bring in food supplies, serve lunch, make purchases of emergent needs for which BUC can cover expenses, and either deliver these to the shelter or to Annis Pratt at BUC on Sundays. A favorite BUC activity is to prepare casseroles in your own kitchen from assigned recipes, a great small group or neighborhood project. Heather Duenas, Executive Director of South Oakland Citizens for the Homeless, is here today and will be at the Welcome Inn table in Hodis Hall after the service, together with Annis Pratt, to answer any questions about Welcome Inn and about volunteering. This morning's offering will now be given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. Ushers. With gratitude, we dedicate this offering to the good works of our congregation and the Welcome Inn.
For simple things that are not simple at all, for miracles of the common way, sunrise, sunset, seed time, harvest, hope, joy, ecstasy, for grace that turns our intentions into deeds, our compassion into helpfulness, our pain into mercy, for providence that sustains and supports our needs. We lift our hearts in thankfulness and pray only to be more aware and thus more alive. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. The joys and sorrows of the congregation that are shared with us this morning are these. Susan Stoll had a severe fall several weeks ago and struck her head, resulting in several brain bleeds. Unfortunately, there are both physical and cognitive effects following the brain injury, and she's not able to return home or live independently at this time. She's now in assisted living at Cedarbrook in Bloomfield. She's not ready for visits, but her new contact information will be in the church directory, and there will be a card that you can sign during coffee hour. From Ann Landon. She's sad to report that David Warren, a longtime Unitarian Universalist, avid biker, environmental activist, and staunch Democrat, passed away last week after a lengthy battle with Parkinson's disease. Dave attended Paint Creek UU Church, and he was known by many BUC members due to his love of biking and the outdoors. Dave is survived by his wife, Lauren Koenig Warren, and Ann Landon asks, please keep Lauren in your thoughts as she goes through this difficult time. We remember those experiencing losses and those facing health challenges. We pray in whatever way we pray for all those affected by war, by hatred and violence. We pray for peace. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds, let us take a moment to be quiet together. Please join in singing hymn 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life.
This reading is titled, "You Be Glad at That Star" by Clark Dewey Wells. Several years ago and shortly after twilight, our 3.5-year-old tried to gain his parents' attention to a shining star. The parents were busy with time and schedules, the irritabilities of the day, and other worthy preoccupations. Yes, yes, we see the star. Now I'm busy. Don't bother me. On hearing this, the young one launched through the porch door, fixed us with a fiery gaze, and said, "You be glad at that star." I will not forget the incident or his words. It was one of those rare moments when you get everything you need for the good of your soul: reprimand, disclosure, and blessing. It was especially good for me, that surprising moment, because I am one who responds automatically and negatively to the usual exhortation to pause and be more appreciative of life. Fortunately, I was caught grandly off guard. There is a notion, with some truth in it, that we cannot command joy, happiness, appreciation, fulfillment. We do not engineer the seasons of the soul or enjoy the quality of mood in another, and yet I do believe there is right and wisdom in that imperative declaration. You be glad at that star. If we cannot impel ourselves into a stellar gladness, we can at least clean the dust from the lens of our perception. If we cannot dictate our own fulfillment, we can at least steer in the right direction. If we cannot exact a guarantee for more appreciative awareness of our world, for persons and stars and breathing and tastes and the incalculable gift of every day, we can at least prescribe some of the conditions through which an increased awareness is more likely to open up the skies for us and for our children. It is not always the great evils that obstruct and waylay our joy. It is our unnecessary and undignified surrender to the petty enemies. And I suggest it is our duty to scheme against them and make them subservient to human decree. Time and schedules, our irritabilities of the day, and other worthy preoccupations. Matters more subtle and humane should command our lives. You be glad at that star.
In an essay titled The Riddle of the Ordinary, Cynthia Ozick wrote, "The extraordinary is easy, and the more extraordinary the extraordinary is, the easier it is, easy in the sense that we can almost always recognize it. The extraordinary does not let you shrug your shoulders and walk away. But the ordinary is a much harder case. In the first place, by making itself so noticeable, it is around us all the time. The ordinary has got itself in a bad fix with us. We hardly ever notice it. The ordinary, simply by being so ordinary, tends to make us ignorant or neglectful. When we aren't grabbed by the collar or struck on the skull by a presence or an event, we take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. As this is the chief vein and deepest point concerning the ordinary, that it does deserve our gratitude. The ordinary lets us live out our humanity. It doesn't scare us, it doesn't excite us, it doesn't distract us. Ordinariness can be defined as a breathing space. The breathing space between getting born and dying, perhaps, or else the breathing space between rapture and rapture, or more usually, the breathing space between one disaster and the next. Ordinariness is sometimes the status quo, sometimes the slow, unseen movement of a subtle but ineluctable cycle, like a ride on the hour hand of the clock. In any case, the ordinary is above all what is expected, and what is expected is not often thought of as a gift. Can we recognize the extraordinary in the ordinary? Albert Einstein, who knew a thing or two about how the universe works, avowed that there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is. I aspire to live as though everything is a miracle. A few years ago, I served as registrar for a conference in Washington, D.C. that drew attendees from across the country. As I sat at the registration table before the conference began, a woman came in the door and walked across the lobby confidently, though slowly and unevenly, and up to the table. Her legs were in braces and she used metal crutches for support. Her knees bent sideways and her torso bent at the waist. Her path was not straight, but she clearly knew where she was going. After she checked in and I handed her the conference binder, she was having some difficulty putting the binder into her tote bag. I asked her if I might help. She replied firmly, "No, you may not." She paused and said, "I bet you wonder how I got here. I suppose you think it's some kind of miracle that I'm here at all." I was a little taken aback by her vehemence, but I was really glad I had asked. It took me a moment to find a response, but then I answered her, "I think it's some kind of miracle that any of us is here at all." She finished putting the notebook in the bag and looked at me for a moment. Then she gave me a quick nod of her head and continued on her way into the conference hall. I like to imagine her later in the day exclaiming, or at least muttering to herself, "It is a miracle that I'm here at all." It is some kind of miracle that any of us is here at all, isn't it? I'm taken with the opening paragraph of avowed atheist Richard Dawkins' book, Unweaving the Rainbow, subtitled Science, Delusion, and the Appetite for Wonder. Dawkins writes, "There is an anesthetic of familiarity, a sedative of ordinariness, which dulls the senses and hides the wonder of existence. We can recapture that sense of having tumbled out to life on a new world by looking at our own world in unfamiliar ways." A miracle can be defined as something that apparently contradicts scientific laws, something generally thought of as impossible that happens anyway. Scientists, skeptics, and Unitarian Universalists sometimes have a hard time believing in miracles. Einstein, who not only understood the laws of science but discovered a few of them, probably could have explained away many of the phenomena called miracles. I imagine it would have been easy for him to conclude that nothing is a miracle. But Einstein was smarter than that, smart enough to embrace a way of life based on the stance that everything is a miracle, not only the things we don't understand, not only the things that are beyond understanding, but even the things that do, after all, follow the laws of science, even the things that happen all around us all the time. What about the Hanukkah miracle of the oil that kept the lamp burning in the rededicated temple for 8 days when there was only enough for one? If a great miracle happened there, is the true miracle that Jewish forces prevailed over the powerful Syrian Greek armies that had held the temple in the 170s BCE. And whether or not there is a factual explanation for the oil that kept burning, is the faith and persistence of the Jewish people through the centuries enough of a miracle? What about the Star of Bethlehem, the one the Magi followed to find Jesus in the Christmas story? Astronomers say that the Magi might have seen a planetary conjunction. Was the Star of Bethlehem not a literal star, but the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus that astronomers tell us occurred in the year 2 BCE? Unitarian Universalist minister Richard Gilbert wrote this reflection, echoing our reading this morning by Clark Dewey Wells. "We moderns speak of light years. No, the star we see in the sky really isn't there at all. Long ago it had moved, its light only a dim reminder of where it was once upon an eon. Our lives, by cosmic contrast, are shooting stars, a quick blaze across the heavens, and then gone forever in the dark void of space. So the stars outlive us, and we lose track of our time in their timelessness. We are liberated from the finite moment by the glow of the infinite. They do compel our spirits by the sheer power of beauty, by the inexorable steadiness of their light. They do compel awe. In the most secular heart, in the most cynical mind, in the most troubled spirit, you be glad at that star becomes more than the voice of a single child. It becomes a cosmic categorical imperative. There is gladness in the stars. Why? I do not know. I only sense I cannot be totally bereft when I bask in their illumination. Even when hidden by dark of cloud at night, or brightness of sun by day, they do their cosmic dance across the heavens to some celestial rhythm I do not hear but feel. And it is a celebrative beat. It has the tempo of life, which not even extinction can overcome. The star, that bright and amazing star, we never tire of it, as we never tire of birth and angel voices and shepherds abiding in the fields and wise ones coming from the east and an innocent baby with gentle mother knowing just what to do, an awestruck father not knowing what to do, it may be we even see the sacred star of Bethlehem in our secular scientific night. So how can we understand the miracles of faith and persistence that have brought us through so many difficulties in recent years? Miracles are happening all around us all the time. Miracles of creation, growth, healing, compassion, and love. Those miracles don't just happen by themselves, and they don't happen as the result of some force outside ourselves. Can we be inspired to create our own further miracles, the miracles that our world needs? The ordinary is, after all, extraordinary, right here, all around us, waiting for us to notice. And so may we be glad at that star, whether planetary conjunction or the one that's there in the sky every night. The one we know is there even when it's obscured by clouds. May we be glad at this life, the one that's ours to live. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn 128, For All That Is Our Life. Let us never sit fenced off in our apathy, never sit entrenched in I don't give a hang, never look at the stars and yawn. Let us see the stars and wonder. Let us see suffering and cry out against it. Let us praise and let us revile, and we will not have been created in vain. May we live our lives fully and creatively so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those whose lives we touch. I invite you to remain seated during the postlude for a moment of quiet contemplation before we greet each other after the service.